My daughter left me at a beachside hotel with an $847 bill and no way to pay it. She had no idea I could see everything she was doing back home. I'm Margaret, 68 years old, retired after 32 years of teaching third grade in Austin, Texas. 5 years ago, my husband David died from a sudden heart attack while mowing our lawn on a Saturday morning. 1 minute he was there, the next he wasn't. That's how fast life changes. The house felt too big after that. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a kitchen where I used to cook Sunday dinners for the whole family. Now it was just me and the silence. I tried to fill it with audiobooks, with the television always on, with volunteering at the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But silence has a way of creeping back in, especially at night. My daughter Sarah lived 2 hours away in Houston with her husband Mark and my 2 grandchildren, Emma and Jackson. After David died, I thought we'd grow closer. I imagined Sunday visits, holidays together, maybe the kids staying over during summer break. But Sarah was always busy, always had a work project, a school event, something that kept her from making the drive. I understood. I really did. She had her own life, her own family to take care of. I didn't want to be a burden, so I stopped asking her to visit and just waited for her calls, which came less and less frequently. That's why I was so surprised when she called me on a Tuesday evening in late June. "Mom, I have an idea," Sarah said, her voice bright in a way I hadn't heard in years. "Mark and I were talking, and we want to take you on a vacation. A real family trip, just like we used to do when I was little, remember? Remember those trips to South Padre?" I did remember. Sarah at 8 years old, building sandcastles, David teaching her to body surf, me reading paperback novels under a beach umbrella, perfectly content. "Oh, honey, that sounds wonderful," I said, my heart lifting. "But you don't have to do that. I know how expensive trips can be with the kids." "Mom, we want to. We've already looked at places. There's this beautiful resort in Galveston, right on the beach. We're thinking the second week of July. What do you say?" What did I say? I said yes, of course. I said yes so fast I didn't even think about it. My daughter wanted to spend time with me. My grandchildren would be there. We'd be a family again, even if just for a week. The next few weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about the trip. I bought a new sundress from Macy's, navy blue with white flowers. I found my old sun hat in the closet. I picked out books for Emma and a remote control car for Jackson. I felt younger than I had in years. Sarah called a few days before we were supposed to leave. "Mom, one thing. You don't need to bring your credit cards or anything like that. We're covering everything. This is our treat. Just bring some comfortable clothes and whatever you need for the beach. Are you sure? I can pay for my own." "Mom, please. Let us do this for you. You spent your whole life taking care of me. Let me take care of you for once." How could I argue with that? It felt good to be taken care of. I left my cards at home, tucked safely in my desk drawer. I packed $50 in cash, just in case I wanted to buy a souvenir or a coffee. Sarah said they'd handle everything else. The drive to Galveston was beautiful. Sarah picked me up early on Saturday morning, and we met Mark and the kids at a gas station outside of Houston. The children hugged me, chattering about the pool at the resort and the beach and all the things they wanted to do. For the first time in 5 years, I felt like I had a family again. The hotel was nicer than I expected. Right on the seawall, with balconies overlooking the Gulf. Our rooms were on the 4th floor. Sarah and Mark had a suite with the kids, and I had my own room right next door. "See, Mom? Isn't this perfect?" Sarah said, as we stood on my balcony, watching the waves roll in. It was perfect. It really was. The first 2 days were everything I'd hoped for. We spent hours on the beach. I sat with my feet in the sand while Emma showed me the shells she collected. We ate seafood dinners at restaurants along the seawall. Mark took the kids to the hotel pool while Sarah and I walked along the beach at sunset, just the 2 of us, talking about nothing and everything. On Monday night, Sarah knocked on my door after the kids had gone to bed. "Mom, I need to tell you something. Mark and I have to drive back to Houston tomorrow morning. There's an emergency meeting at his work, some crisis with a client. We might be gone overnight, but we'll be back Wednesday at the latest." My stomach dropped a little, but I tried not to show it. "Oh, will you take the kids with you? Actually, we were hoping you could watch them here. They're so excited about the beach. It seems cruel to drag them back to Houston just for a day or two. Is that okay? Of course it was okay. I loved my grandchildren. That's fine, honey. We'll have fun. Great. And listen, we've already paid for the rooms through Friday, so don't worry about anything. Just enjoy the beach with Emma and Jackson. We'll be back before you know it. She hugged me goodnight, and I felt guilty for that moment of disappointment. This was still a gift. 2 days alone with my grandchildren, we'd make memories. Sarah and Mark left early Tuesday morning, before I was even awake. I found a note slipped under my door. Thanks, Mom. The kids are still sleeping. Love you. Emma and Jackson and I had a good Tuesday. We built an elaborate sandcastle. We found a seafood place that served fish and chips. We watched a movie in my hotel room and fell asleep with the sound of the ocean outside the window. Wednesday morning came. No Sarah. No Mark. I called Sarah's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. I called Mark's. Same thing. By Wednesday afternoon, I was worried. I called again. And again. Nothing. Thursday morning, there was a knock on my door. A woman in a hotel uniform stood there with a tablet in her hand. Miss Chen? Margaret Chen? Yes? I'm the hotel manager. I need to speak with you about your room charges. My confusion must have shown on my face. I'm sorry, I don't understand. My daughter paid for the rooms through Friday. The manager's expression softened. Ma'am, your daughter and her husband checked out on Tuesday morning. They paid for their own room through Tuesday, but your room was only paid through Tuesday as well. You've been here 2 additional nights. The balance is $847. The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. That's not possible. Sarah said she told me everything was paid through Friday. I'm very sorry, ma'am, but according to our records, you're responsible for the charges. We'll need payment by checkout time tomorrow, which is 11 a.m. I tried calling Sarah again as soon as the manager left. Voicemail, Mark, voicemail, over and over, all day Thursday. The grandchildren asked why Mommy and Daddy weren't answering. I didn't know what to tell them. That night, after the kids finally fell asleep, I sat on my balcony and tried to think. I had $50 in my purse. The hotel bill was $847. My credit cards were at home, 200 miles away in Austin. I'd left them there because Sarah insisted I didn't need them. Sarah, who wasn't answering her phone. Sarah, who had left me here with her children and an impossible bill. I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m, I remembered something. Last Christmas, David's sister Linda had given me an iPad. Margaret, you need to stay connected, she'd said. I'd mostly used it for reading recipes and checking email, but I'd also installed one of those home security camera apps after a rash of break-ins in my neighborhood last year. I hadn't looked at it in months. The cameras were just there, recording nothing interesting, me coming and going. The occasional delivery driver. I opened the app on my iPad, expecting to see my empty driveway, my quiet porch. Instead, I saw a moving truck parked in front of my house. I watched men carrying my furniture out, my couch, my dining room table, David's favorite reading chair. I watched Sarah directing them, pointing, gesturing. I watched Mark standing on my porch with papers in his hand, talking to someone I didn't recognize. The timestamp on the footage said Wednesday afternoon, yesterday. While I'd been calling her over and over, while I'd been sick with worry about where she was, Sarah had been at my house. With movers. I scrolled through the recorded footage. Tuesday afternoon, they'd shown up. Tuesday evening, still there. Wednesday morning, a locksmith had changed my locks. Wednesday afternoon, more furniture going out. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the iPad. I zoomed in on the papers Mark was holding. I couldn't read them completely, but I could make out enough. Power of attorney, property deed, my name in typewritten letters. They weren't coming back to Galveston. They'd never planned to come back. They'd gotten me out of the house, taken my credit cards, made sure I was stranded 200 miles away with no resources. While I was here, helpless, they were stealing my house. I sat there on that hotel balcony until the sun came up, watching the footage over and over, trying to understand how my daughter could do this to me. Trying to understand when I'd become someone whose own child would betray her this way. Friday morning, the hotel manager called my room. Miss Chen, it's checkout time. Do you have payment? I need one more day, I said. Please. I'm trying to reach my daughter. This is a misunderstanding. There was a long pause. Then, quietly, Ma'am, are you okay? Is there someone I can call for you? I just need one more day. She must have heard something in my voice. Okay, one more day, but that's all I can do. After she hung up, I looked at my grandchildren sleeping in the other bed. What was I supposed to do with them? I couldn't take them with me. I couldn't leave them here. I called Sarah one more time. This time, she answered. Mom, I'm so sorry. We've been so busy. I saw the cameras, Sarah. Silence. I saw the moving truck. I saw you at my house. I saw everything. More silence. Then, Mom, let me explain. Come get your children. You have until 5 o'clock today. If you're not here, I'm calling the police and reporting them abandoned. You wouldn't. Try me. I hung up. The next call I made was to Linda Martin. Not David's sister Linda, Linda Martin, who'd been my closest friend for 40 years. Linda, who'd retired from her law practice 3 years ago, but still kept her license active. Linda, who lived 20 minutes from me in Austin. Margaret? What's wrong? I told her everything. The vacation, the hotel bill, the cameras, the moving truck. That absolute bitch, Linda said, and I'd never loved her more. Okay, listen to me. Do not leave that hotel. Do not sign anything. Do not talk to Sarah except to make sure she gets those kids. I'm making some calls. An hour later, Linda called back. I've contacted a colleague who practices in Galveston. His name is Robert Hayes. He's going to come to your hotel this afternoon. He's bringing a check to cover your bill. You'll pay me back later, and we'll figure out the rest. Linda, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling you. This is what friends do. Now, do you have anything of value with you? Any jewelry? I thought of my mother's pearl necklace. The one I'd brought to wear to a nice dinner that never happened. Yes, good. There's a pawn shop 3 blocks from your hotel. Hayes will take you there after Sarah picks up the kids. You'll get money for a bus ticket home. Trust me on this, Margaret. We're going to fix this. Sarah showed up at exactly 4:47 p.m. She didn't come to my room. She texted, "We're in the lobby." I brought Emma and Jackson downstairs. They ran to their mother, confused about why Grandma seemed upset, why their vacation was ending so suddenly. Sarah wouldn't look at me. Mark stood behind her, his jaw tight. "You had no right to," Mark started. "No right to what? To see my own house being robbed? To protect my own property?" My voice was loud enough that people in the lobby turned to look. I didn't care. "You forged power of attorney documents. That's a felony. Linda's lawyers are already working on it." Sarah's face went white. "Mom, please. We can talk about this. We just wanted to help you. The house is too big for you alone. You thought you'd take it while I was stranded here, with no money and no way to stop you. You thought I was helpless. I'm still your daughter. My daughter wouldn't have done this." They left with the children. I watched them go, and I felt something break inside me that I don't think will ever fully heal. Robert Hayes arrived 30 minutes later. He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes and a briefcase. He paid my hotel bill with a check from his firm. Then he drove me to the pawn shop Linda had mentioned. The owner, an older Vietnamese man, looked at my mother's pearls with a jeweler's loupe. "These are good quality, real saltwater pearls. I can give you $320. It wasn't much, but it was enough for a bus ticket and some food for the ride home. Hayes drove me to the Greyhound station. Before I got out of his car, he handed me a folder. "These are the documents we'll need to file charges. Attempted fraud, elder abuse, possibly identity theft, depending on what they forged. Linda will go over everything with you when you get home. And Miss Chen, you're stronger than they thought you were." The bus ride took 4.5 hours. I sat in the back, watching Texas highways roll past, trying not to think about Emma and Jackson. They were Sarah's children, not mine. I had to remember that. It was almost midnight when the bus pulled into Austin. Linda was waiting for me at the station. She didn't say anything. She just hugged me for a long time while I cried. "Let's go see your house," she finally said. We drove through streets I'd known for 40 years, past the grocery store where I still shopped, past the elementary school where I'd taught. When we turned onto my street, I held my breath. The moving truck was gone. The lights were off. Linda had already called a locksmith who'd changed the locks back. "Most of your furniture is in their storage unit in Houston," Linda said. "We'll get it back. But I need you to see something." We went inside. The house looked violated. Bare spots on the walls where pictures had hung, empty spaces where my couch and chairs had been. But worse than that, I found papers on my kitchen table, a deed transfer made out in Sarah's name, a power of attorney with my signature on it. Except I'd never signed it. "It's a good forgery," Linda said, examining the signature. "But it's still a forgery. We'll prove it. I've already filed a police report. They're going to investigate." I sat down at my kitchen table, in one of the few chairs Sarah hadn't taken yet. How did I raise someone who could do this to me? Linda sat across from me. "You didn't raise this person. Grief does strange things to people. David's death changed Sarah too. Maybe she convinced herself that you couldn't handle the house alone, that she was doing you a favor. Maybe Mark pushed her into it. Maybe she's just become someone you don't know anymore. But Margaret, listen to me. This is not your fault." The investigation took 3 weeks. The district attorney filed charges. Attempted theft by deception, forgery, elder abuse. Sarah and Mark hired a lawyer. Their lawyer called Linda, trying to make a deal. "Perhaps we can work something out." My clients were only trying to help Mrs. Chen transition to more appropriate housing. This was a family matter that's been blown out of proportion. Linda's response was beautiful in its simplicity. "No." The case moved forward. Sarah sent me emails, texts, trying to explain, trying to justify. They'd been worried about me. The house was too much for me to handle. They'd only wanted to help me sell it and move into something smaller. The hotel thing was a mistake. They'd thought they'd paid through Friday. Every message was another lie on top of the lies before. I didn't respond to any of them. The breakthrough came when the police found the storage unit Sarah and Mark had rented. Inside was my furniture, my mother's china cabinet, boxes of David's books, photo albums from my wedding, things they'd had no right to take, things they'd planned to sell or keep. Sarah's lawyer reached out to Linda again. This time, the offer was different. Sarah and Mark would return everything. They'd pay restitution for the hotel bill, the pawn shop, everything. They'd formally apologize. In exchange, I'd drop the criminal charges. I thought about it for exactly 5 seconds. "No," I told Linda. "Are you sure? It would be easier. You'd get your things back without a trial." "I'm sure." Because it wasn't about the furniture or the money. It was about what they'd done. They'd treated me like I was already gone, like I was already a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. They'd counted on me being too weak, too old, too confused to fight back. They'd been wrong. The trial was scheduled for October. 3 weeks before it was set to begin, Sarah and Mark pled guilty to reduced charges. Attempted theft, forgery. The judge sentenced them to probation and community service. No jail time, but criminal records. Sarah lost her job when her employer found out. Mark's company demoted him. I sat in the courtroom and watched my daughter cry as the judge pronounced sentence. I felt nothing. Afterward, in the hallway outside the courtroom, Sarah approached me. "Mom, please, can we talk?" "No. I'm still your daughter. Emma and Jackson are still your grandchildren. You can't just cut us out of your life." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. "I can," I said. "And I am." I changed my will that week. Everything I owned would go to charity when I died. A scholarship fund for teaching students at the University of Texas. Not a penny to Sarah. The house felt different after everything that happened. Not haunted, exactly, but changed. I couldn't sit in my living room without thinking about Sarah directing movers. Couldn't sleep in my bed without remembering her forging my signature on papers meant to steal my home. 6 months after the trial, I put the house on the market. It sold in 2 weeks. I used the money to buy a small condo in a retirement community on the north side of Austin. 2 bedrooms, a balcony with a view of a man-made pond where ducks lived. It was perfect for me, just me. I also used some of the money to establish that scholarship fund I'd included in my will, the Margaret and David Chen Teaching Scholarship. Every year, it would help one student afford to become a teacher. David would have loved that. Linda helped me through all of it. So did some of the other retired teachers from my school. women I'd worked with for decades and hadn't seen much since David died. I'd isolated myself without realizing it, wrapped up in my grief and loneliness. Sarah had counted on that isolation. I don't make that mistake anymore. I have lunch with Linda every Tuesday. I volunteer at the elementary school near my condo on Thursdays, reading to second graders. I joined a book club that meets monthly at the community center. I learned that loneliness makes you vulnerable, but connection makes you strong. I think about Sarah sometimes, about Emma and Jackson growing up without their grandmother. I wonder if Sarah tells them stories about me, or if I've become someone they don't talk about. I wonder if she understands what she did, or if she's convinced herself I was the unreasonable one. Mostly, though, I think about that night on the hotel balcony in Galveston, watching the security camera footage of strangers carrying my life out of my house while my daughter supervised. I think about how small I felt in that moment, how powerless and old, and then I think about everything that came after: the phone calls, the police reports, standing in front of a judge and refusing to back down, refusing to let my daughter write me off as a problem to be solved or an obstacle to be removed. I chose myself. After 68 years of being a daughter, a wife, a mother, a teacher, I chose myself. And you know what? The word legacy keeps coming to mind. I used to think legacy was about what you left behind for your children, the house, the money, the things you'd accumulated. But I learned something in that hotel room, watching my daughter try to erase me from my own life. Legacy isn't what you leave for people. It's what you leave in people. And the legacy I'm leaving now is different. It's in the students who'll get scholarships to become teachers. It's in the second graders I read to every Thursday who light up when I walk into their classroom. It's in the example I set for other women my age that you don't have to accept being diminished or dismissed. You can fight back. You can start over. You can choose yourself. I'm Margaret Chen. I'm 68 years old, and my daughter tried to steal my house while I was stranded at a hotel 200 miles away. She didn't know I could see everything. She didn't know I had friends who would fight for me. She didn't know I was stronger than she thought, but she knows now.